It's grading season. Yay. Hi, my name is Megan and I am an ESL teacher in Southern China, and it's grading season, which, let's be honest, is always a little bit of a difficult time because it's the end of the semester. You're tired, your students have senioritis and so do you, and you just want to wrap up the semester and you finish your classes and you are left with stacks of grading to do. So I want to share a couple of tips about how to grade ESL spoken exams or oral exams, however you call them, because I think when you have a written exam, it's pretty self-explanatory about how to grade that, but grading oral exams and spoken exams can get a little bit complicated. And I have been through many iterations of different types of oral exams and different types of grading them. Now today, I don't want to talk about the tips for delivering the exams or the different types of exams. I just want to focus on how to grade the exams as efficiently and accurately as possible. So let me tell you a little bit about what I do to grade my exams quickly. Let me tell you about the system I have now. Now, honestly, my system is ever evolving and it might change, but here's what it's like right now. Instead of just me sitting here talking, let me show you something. So let's go to my desk and we can kind of take a look at all the things that I use for grading oral, spoken, ESL exams. Let's go. Okay, here we are at the desk. Sorry if you can hear the construction because there is always construction. So let me show you my essentials that I use for grading exams. First, my laptop is something that I just bring to class. And then I have my nifty little container here. Inside carries a lot of things that are necessary. I have my name sheets here. I allow the students to sign up for the exam, and so all of the students have written their names here, and I use these for my exams. I also use just a really simple notebook, just a blank notebook, and then I have a couple of highlighters and of course pens that I use to deliver the exam. Now, how do I do grading in the most efficient way possible? At least that I found so far. Like I said, this might change because it is an ever-evolving system. I've tried so many iterations of this, and this is one that I think works pretty well for me right now. Okay, so the first thing I use is my laptop. When we go to the class for the final exam, I sit in the back of the class and I type out my notes. I used to do this by hand and I can't believe I did that. I was an idiot. It's so much faster to just type out the notes. So here I have a simple Word document. I keep it very, very simple. And I have a different Word document for each class. In the Word document, it's very, very simple. I can show it on the screen. It just gives me a place to write their name, their time, what was good about their speech, what they can improve about their speech, and then I also have a small section for good vocabulary words that they used. That's all. It's very simple. Now, something else I do is I have a separate page open with my feedback notes because generally the mistakes that students make are pretty common. You know, they'll pronounce the TH sound incorrectly. Instead of saying thin, they will say sing. So I have in my notes document all of the feedback that I can give them. And so when a student says, I think I want to, I just go over to my notes app, I copy. Be careful of your TH sound. When you said the TH sound, it actually sounded like an S. For example, I copy that into the Word document and then I write the specific word that they said incorrectly. So then the full thing will read, for example, think. So do I need to type out all of this feedback? Absolutely not. I'm just copying and pasting. And students are always really impressed with how specific the feedback is. And they're amazed that I'm able to type that much during that time. spoiler alert, I'm not actually typing it all. I'm copying and pasting most of the feedback. So while students are talking, I am typing up the feedback that I can send to them later. And that is the first part of the grading process. Why do I do this? One, it's so that I can give my students really excellent feedback. Another reason is that I can look back on their speech, on their presentation, on their dialogue, and I can see all the things that they did really well, and I can see all of the information about the exam. So if I'm hesitating between, a B plus or an A minus, I can go back to this, and just judging from all the good things I wrote down, I can determine what the right score should be. So while I am taking notes on my laptop that I use for feedback, I am also considering my own personal opinions of the presentation. So in their name list, it looks like chaos. I know it looks like absolute chaos. So here I have each student's name, and underneath it I have my personal private opinion. This is written in scribbles on purpose because I don't want students to actually read this. This is just where I'm writing my own thoughts, and I can be a little bit harsh. For example, for Demi, I wrote that there was nothing really super wrong with her speech, but it wasn't grabbing my attention. So she needed to work on her presentation skills, adding more variety, adding more intonation. Her ideas were solid, but it was just a really meh presentation. And I don't want to write that on the feedback just in case a student were to see that. So I write it here. This is like my true opinion. Also, this is where I write what I think the score should be. So here I wrote that Zoe can maybe get a 92, but then I also sometimes, if I'm not sure at the time, because these speeches were only 3 minutes long, I don't have that much time to consider everything. For Reagan, I wrote maybe it's a 93 or it's a 94. So on this piece of paper is all my real information, my real opinions. I also use some highlighters to help me out. So for each one, you can see that I have a yellow highlighter, and that means that they did not have any eye contact, and that was one of the requirements for this presentation this semester. So it's a really common mistake that a lot of people refuse to have eye contact, or they're just reading their paper, and so I just can really easily swipe their name, and I know that it was pretty bad. And then I also will sometimes swipe with orange, and if I swipe with orange, it means that they didn't reach the time requirement. So for example, Sylvia was 20 seconds short on time, and I was going to give her an A. Like, her presentation was solid, but because she was short on the time, I lowered her score to an 87. And I could just really easily see this. I can give them the accurate score, but then I can adjust it for things like not meeting simple requirements. And this, if I were to lose this, I would be devastated. This is my lifeline. This is also something students never see. I can really easily just flip the paper over and no one sees it. Now, something I have done in the past, and I didn't really do this semester, was scoring in my notebook. If you are a beginning teacher, I think this is absolutely excellent, because when you're beginning as a teacher, maybe you're not sure what is an A speech and what is a B speech and what's a C plus speech. It's a little bit hard for you to set a standard. And even for me, sometimes, one class will just really hit it out of the park and the other class won't. Especially this semester, I had one class that had 3 fewer lessons than the other class. So I went a little bit easier on them in the grading process because they didn't have as many opportunities to practice the business ideas that the other classes did. So what I do with this is, as students are giving their presentation, I just write their name on this blank piece of paper. If I write their name on this side, that means they did really, really well. And if I write their name on this side, it means they did not do well. And it's a really easy way for me to kind of compare students against each other to get a general idea of how the entire class did. So like, Doreen kicked it out of the park. Wendy also did a really excellent job. These students in the middle are kind of more middle schoolers, but I can really easily look at this piece of paper and then I could also add my scoring in here. As a beginning teacher, I used this a lot. I used this so much. I would write down these general ideas and then I would go home and I would give them more accurate scoring. Now that I've been teaching for over 10 years, I have a much clearer idea of what an A+ speech is compared to a B+ speech. So then I'm able to just really quickly write it on the name lists. But if you're just starting out, it could be a good thing to do. Something else I really like about this is it makes it feel a little bit more fair, because sometimes your mood can affect your grading. So if I'm having a really bad day, I might notice that I'm scoring students a little bit more harshly on my name list. If I'm really tired, I've heard a lot of speeches that day, but if I use this, I'm able to see like, oh, but she did very well. Like, she's very close to this side of the page. Maybe she doesn't deserve such a low score. So I really like to give a tentative grade, then go back and give a more accurate grade, just to make sure I'm not influenced by outside factors. So that is my grading process. So how can you give feedback in the most effective way possible? Like I said, in the past, I used to write everything out. And if you do that, that means that in order to share feedback, you have to literally write it all out, which is terrible. So here's what I really quickly do for feedback. So at the end of our class, if we have time, I tell the students that they can come to the back of the class where my computer is, and I will just show them everything that I wrote down for their feedback. And I actually really like doing this because I'm able to kind of talk through what I mean by certain things, and it creates a little bit more of a personal feedback session. A lot of students too will just come to the back of the room and they just take a picture. They take their phones and they take a picture of my computer screen and then they say, thanks, bye. And it's so simple because I literally do nothing. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to send it to them. They just take a picture of what's happening. I also say that if students want, they can send me a message in our school app and ask for the feedback. And the reason I do this is because I used to give feedback to every single student. And very quickly, I found that, dare we say, the majority of students don't care that much. So I was doing a lot of extra work. And now, if all of the students want feedback, they can have that. That's totally fine, but I put the ball in their court. So I ask students to send me a message if they're interested in seeing the feedback. Then I just go and screenshot this page and send it to them in the app. I don't create a separate Word document, PDF. I just screenshot it and send it, and it is so close to effortless compared to everything else I have done. Now, I don't know what your situation is. Maybe your program already has an app, already has things set up, but I've found in my experience teaching in China, usually exams and giving feedback, it's just a free-for-all. You can kind of do whatever you want. So I found that this way works really, really well. In a really short summary, I just use my laptop with a simple Word document and I write down everything they did well and everything they can improve. If students want to see that feedback immediately after class, I will show it to them and explain it. They can take a picture of it, or they can send me a private message and I will screenshot the information to them. Doing this means I have tons of information about every student's exam. That means if a student comes to me and says, oh, I think my exam score is a little bit low, I can pull up this document and say, you made all of these mistakes, you did not reach the time requirement, you didn't do this, blah, blah, blah. These are the reasons for your grade. I can use my notebook and have this ranking system to help me better determine a more accurate idea of the student's performance. And then I have my name lists where I write down my personal opinions about how the speech went, and I also write down my suggested score. Then I just take this piece of paper and type the scores into the computer and I am done. So that is how I do all of my grading for oral exams or spoken exams, and how I give feedback. If you have any different experiences or different ideas, please leave them in the comments below. Like I said, I'm constantly improving this system. I don't really use this ranking as much anymore. I'm always looking for ways to optimize and speed up my production. So if you have any ideas, definitely leave them down below. If you have questions, you could ask that as well. If you're looking for more tips, you can go to atlasteaching.com and check out the resources there. You can also come back for weekly videos. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Good luck with grading, and I'll see you next time. Bye.